Hello, everyone. It is a big pleasure to be here. I am Muriel Alarcón. I am a Chilean journalist. I am a freelance reporter. I am based in Santiago. And these last 12 years, I have been covering stories of health, environment, food systems in different parts of the world. But I like to say that I cover stories of people. I am spending most of my days talking to people, learning from their experience, excitements, motivations, pains. I think that my journey into journalism has convinced me that every single person has an extraordinary story to share. I am sure in this audience, every one of you have one as well. So my role today is to bring those stories to the world, to make them resonate with a very worldwide audience. I think this is especially important with climate change stories because climate change is happening and is affecting all of us. So I am here today to tell you why I do think it is crucial to tell climate stories through human voices. So my interest in climate reporting started in 2021 when I first saw this photo taken by the AFP photographer Martin Bernetti. This photography shows a big closed dump in Atacama Desert in northern Chile. I remember spending days thinking how this could have happened, wondering how so many clothes ended up there. So I remember feeling the urgency to go on the ground. As a journalist, one always wants to see it to believe it. And I remember sharing this idea and this feeling with Julia Shipley, a friend of mine from Columbia Journalism School, and also with Fernando Alarcón, a brilliant video filmmaker and a photographer who also happens to be my brother. And they both were amazed. And of course, they want also to join me in this adventure. So in the beginning, we didn't relate this story to the climate crisis because media previous report had attributed to the fast fashion industry. But as we dive deeper into the issue, we realized that this has all the characteristics of a climate crisis story. And particularly when we were on the ground and we started to talk to locals and we faced the very first surprise of this reporting trip. There was no closed dump. It had been burned. So it is not really clear today who burned it, but I want to tell you the story of how everything started. So during our reporting, we met Manuela Medina. This is a Chilean in her 60s, a former gardener, a woman who has historically been fighting against poverty. One day, about 20 years ago, she approached used clothing importers, asking them, "Do you have any garbage for me?" By garbage, of course, she meant clothes. So she started to collect clothes, and she started to sell clothes, and then many other locals started to repeat this very successful business model, started to follow her step, her example, and suddenly there were so many closed landfills in the desert that they could even be seen from the space. For her, this was not problematic. This was her job. This was her source of income. This was her source of money. She even felt very proud of it. So, as I was saying, it is not clear who burned her closed dump, neither others. But what is very clear is that this is a current problem. This is a problem that is happening this day. Still, clothes arrive to Atacama Desert, still clothes is burned. And what is also very clear is that this is producing a big harm to the population. The population that lives here, if it is not the poorest, is one of the poorest in Chile. So meanwhile, there is this young environmental activist named Ángela Astudillo, She is trying to do something similar as some of you. She's trying to find a solution for a very complex problem. She's trying to reverse the problem. She's trying to find greener ways to deal with these discarded clothes from landfills. So she realized that some garments from these landfills could retain the moisture, and she started to plant them in an area where today grows an eucalyptus forest. So she's making possible the impossible. In the same area where Manuela started, and the desert where Manuela started the first closed landfill in Chile, she is raising a forest. So a story about burning landfills is also a story about climate change, because it shows how, as human beings, how we human beings are relating to clothes by buying it, consuming it, discarding it, throwing away it. The emissions from burning these clothes are not only affecting and increasing the carbon in the atmosphere, they are also threatening the health of locals. They are also sickening Manuela lungs. They are also keeping and forcing Angela to stay with her windows closed, because he doesn't want her daughter to face and to breathe this very toxic smoke that comes from the plastic, that comes from the clothes. So climate stories are not just stories from the last research that came from the labs, where scientists today are measuring the rising temperatures of oceans or the increase in the emissions of carbon emissions in the atmosphere. These are also stories of common people. These are also stories of despair and hope. These are also stories that show how we as human beings are intrinsically connected to nature. These are also stories that can show how our day-to-day actions impact the earth. So our recently published story, translated into 3 different languages, confirmed me that human stories is a very powerful tool, and also a very universal language to engage and to connect emotionally with worldwide audience. So by giving voices, faces, names to those who are today living, struggling, and trying to solve the environmental disasters, we are also bridging this gap between very abstract concepts and very tangible realities. Because climate crisis is not only an environmental issue, but of course is one human. I want to tell you today that I really and I deeply believe that only today, through climate stories, by telling climate stories through human voices, we will not only make understandable these very complex issues, we will not only raise awareness, foster empathy, but we will also inspire action to build a better future together. Thank you.